Following Jesus is not about comfort, it's about conviction. The same people that may praise you today will stone you tomorrow, but God still has work for you to do. Now, Acts 14 shows us exactly this. Paul goes through some real hardships, but he perseveres, and God always has a plan in store. So the story starts out with Paul and Barnabas. They had just been expelled from Antioch by the Jewish leaders. So they get to a town called Iconium, and they begin their evangelical efforts in the synagogue, because that's a great place to start. They preach the gospel to multitudes, and Jews and Greeks alike believe. Now, success sometimes breeds opposition. The Jewish leaders stirred up the Gentiles and basically split the crowds against them. And Paul and Barnabas became aware of a stoning attempt that was coming for them, so they left, and they fled to Lycaonia. When they arrived, they saw a crippled man from birth who had never walked. Now, this man was intently watching and listening, hanging on every word that Paul was speaking. Paul noticed this and saw the faith in his eyes that he had to be healed. So he said to him, "Stand up straight on your feet." And the man leapt and walked immediately. Now, the crowd in Lycaonia saw this miracle and thought it was stupendous, but their idea about God and who he was didn't really change yet. They began to consider Paul and Barnabas, lowercase g, gods themselves, and they called Barnabas Zeus and Paul Hermes. They even brought oxen to be sacrificed to them. And Paul angrily appeals to the crowd, saying, "You need to recognize the true God instead of worshiping us." But they were scarcely able to restrain the multitudes from sacrificing oxen to them. So the Jews from Antioch came to Lycaonia, and after persuading the multitude, they stone Paul. People think he's dead, and they drag him to the edge of the city. They thought he was dead. This is a dramatic demonstration of how fickle a crowd can be. So the disciples gather around Paul, they pray for him, and he rises up, and he goes right back into that same city. God saved him, and he did not flee, even in the face of all this adversity. In fact, he went right back into that same city that just stoned him almost to death. They make many more disciples, and then they return back to Antioch with a message to those new Christians that they had left prior, that we must go through many tribulations to get into the kingdom of God. And that's okay. Many of us need strengthening in our souls. It's hard to continue in the faith. It's hard to continue after trial, year after year. It takes a strong soul and an encouraged faith. But suffering has a very significant place in God's plan for our lives. The suffering of Paul brought so many Gentiles to the faith and opened that door for God to work in so many more people's lives. Paul's ministry reached the multitude. So next time you're going through a trial, ask God to use you in that moment to reach people and watch him do it.